is going to be something you don't really have to listen to too much for. Okay, so first of all, we are going to get started. So a couple of things super quick. We eat lunch at 12:50 to 1:20. Okay, so my alarm will go off at 12:50 and then you'll be excused. Just so you guys know, there are going to be a couple of changes if you had me in the fall or if you had me in the winter, and you'll see that. Those of you in the winter, you're used to Schoology, you're used to submitting things on Schoology, but there is one change on how we're going to submit it. So there will be different things throughout this that even those of you that just had me are a little bit different, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get Schoology up on your computers. So grab your computer. If you do not have your computer today, it's not the end of the world. This is something you could do at home or do quickly if we ever had a test or something. We're also going to get Schoology on our phones, and that's where you'll use it mainly, okay? All right, so what I would like you guys to do is go to your search engine and type in Rocori High School, okay? And then what will probably come up is Home Rocori High School or something like Rocori High School Home. Open that up and you should see this page right here, okay? Are you guys seeing this? Are we good? Okay, if you click on this quick links, one of the drop-down menus will be Schoology. So go down to that. And if this is your first time that you've done this on your MacBook, it will probably ask you for your username and password. And that is just your district username and password, the one with Rocori. Okay, do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so go ahead and log into that. Okay, now, if I go back here to our notes, this may not be the right one. Okay. What I want you to do, once you click in it, is find Advanced Algebra 2B, okay? Are you guys there already? Okay. And then what you should see is this, okay? From chapter 4 to chapter 9, those are the chapters we absolutely have to get you through by the end of the year. What we did first trimester this year with you guys being distance and hybrid is a lot of times we had to spend 2 days every time we had a quiz and a test, and there were some days lost. So we are behind where we should be. Truly, we should be starting in chapter 6, and we have half of this and all of chapter 5. So we're going to be cruising. The other thing I want to tell you, and this is not to scare you at all, because we're all in this together, and I will help you as much as I can. The second semester is hard, okay? Today, when I start, is hard. There's days that aren't, but overall, we learn about logarithms, we learn about trig, and depending on if we get into chapter 10, much more trig than what we did in geometry. So it's a tough class. It really is the second try. When you pull this up, if you open up chapter 4, okay, I want to show you this. So if you get quarantined, last hour I just had a kid get called out and was quarantined. So it happens, okay? So I just want to show you. Say you're home tomorrow and you need to access my stuff, okay? Once I teach every day, I will be putting my blank notes in here. Then I will, like each day when I'm done, my completed notes go in here. So let's say you are a learner that learns better by watching me. You don't write things down, but you get home and you're like, I can't remember how to do this. I want to look at her notes. Well, if you go to chapter 4, completed notes, they're going to be there. Also, after I get done each day, we're still in chapter 4, I put my videos in there. So you'd be able to see that at any time, okay? And I name them with what section and so on. The other thing we're going to talk about today is how do we submit assignments? And the first assignment that you guys are going to have is in here already. And this is what's different from last try, even those of you that had me in the winter. In the winter, if somebody did an assignment that was 5 pages long, let's just say, okay, they would take, most kids would take 5 separate pictures and upload 5 separate documents. And when I go to grade that, that takes me forever. Because I open, wait, open, sit there and wait till I can grade it, open. So I asked our technology person, Mary Swanson, if she would do a video showing you guys how to upload one document with all 5 pictures. Now, some of you do that already. Andrew does it. Who else does it? I know there's other people who do. You use Office ones? Okay. There's also one called Adobe Scan that you can use. If you use that, that's perfect. But if you don't have one that you use, if you're in science, is that what you got it as from a science class? Okay. If you're in, are any of you in chemistry? Did you have to use Office Lens for chemistry? Okay. So if you're used to that, I would use that. You know, if you're used to that, use that. Otherwise, what we are going to do is I'm going to show you a video at the end today that Mary Swanson walks through taking 3 different pictures and uploading it into one document. And you'll get 10 points for doing that tonight. You can take 3 pictures of anything, your water bottle, your computer, your paper, backpack, whatever it is that you want, but I want 3 separate things, and it's going to come in following her video into one document. So I'm going to open it up once, and I would scroll through the 3 pictures. Okay? It's going to make my life a lot easier. Then, let's go back here. So that kind of shows you Schoology. You can do assessments on there. With you guys being in person, I probably won't. But in the winter, we did when we were distance, okay? The real reason, if you're wondering, like, why is she making us do Schoology? Next fall, everybody has to do Schoology. We're still going to use Teams for this year to do it, to communicate with chat, to do our Teams meetings. I'm not sure what the school will do next year. I haven't heard if Teams is going away completely and we're just using Schoology, or if we're going to use both. I don't know, but I know in the fall we have to use Schoology. Okay? Another way that Schoology is really good is more for the teacher. If I'm grading in Teams, like we did last year, I'd open something up, I'd grade it, and then I have to have a second computer that I'm putting the grade inside. So I open something up here, see it, decide on my grade. It doesn't communicate with Skyward. Now with Schoology, if I open it up and I grade it in Schoology, I just have to hit one button when I'm done with an assignment. I hit sync to Skyward, and your grades go into Skyward. Okay, so that is a huge help. All right, so let's go to get it on our phones. So on your phones, go to your app store. So those of you that haven't been in here, you have to have it on your phone or an iPad or something that you can take pictures with so that you can submit your assignments, okay? So go to your app store and search for Schoology. So you guys are done with your MacBooks now if you want to put those away. So go to Schoology, and when you get into that, once you get that installed, it's going to ask you where, it's going to come up with like a search bar. And if you just type in Rocori, you're going to get Rocori Public Schools, Rocori Middle School, Rocori High School, and you're going to click on Rocori High School. And I'll give you a second to do that for those of you that have not done that yet. Did I give you enough time to get it installed on your phone? And select Rocori. Go to Rocori High School. Jocelyn, did I give you enough time? Okay. Are we all here? All right. Now, it'll probably ask you to log in again. It shouldn't, like those of you that have, it doesn't ask you to log in after the first time, right? Once you log in, you're good on your phone? Okay. So log in with your username and password again, just like you did on your MacBooks, using the Rocori username and password. And then you're just going to be right back where we're going to be able to access exactly what we saw before. So once you log in, username and password, you're going to go to these three lines up here. Okay? Once you click on those three lines, one of these two screens should appear. Okay? Sometimes it brings you up to like your main page, which you can select your courses and your resources and stuff like that. Other times it'll bring you right to your courses and you would just select, no, Schoology talks to Skyward, so all of your courses you are in right now are in there, okay? That's another thing. Teams does not talk to Skyward, so we have to set up our teams each try. Schoology is all set up. So you guys are going to want to find Advanced Algebra 2B. Click on that. And then you're going to be right back into our class. Except yours is going to look different than this. Oh, I'm in 1st+Day Stuff regular geometry. That's why. I don't want to be in that one. So yours should look like this instead. Okay, chapters 4 through 10. Again, if you opened up chapter 4, you would have blank notes, completed notes, videos, assignments. You can go to your assignment, open up that picture assignment, and once I show you that video, Mary will show you how to do 3 pictures in one document. Okay? The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is not necessary, but for those of you who have not had me, I think those of you in the fall, I walked you through getting on the textbook. Philip, I know I didn't have you this year. And Jocelyn, I don't think I had you. If you guys, who else did I not have this year? Okay, yes. So if you guys want to have your textbook on your phone, I'm going to have you guys go through, because you have this sheet, just go through this on your own time. That is if you don't want to bring your textbook to school each day, okay? This will talk you through it. It'll give you the different codes you need, and then you can get that textbook on your phone and you can leave your book at home if you want to, okay? Completely up to you if you want to do that. How many of you use your textbook on your phone? Okay. It's kind of nice because you can read one book at home, but it's completely up to you if you don't want to use it. It's not necessary. So we are going to skip to this page, okay? So you're going to notice that I'm making a few changes in my class this try. Last year, I struggled with kids not turning in homework on time. And about right after Christmas, I want to say it was, I switched to no late homework at all, okay? So like if an assignment was due tomorrow and it wasn't turned in, that student could never turn it in again. Right about 2 months after that, after I started that policy, we went to distance learning last spring, and then that was a nightmare with kids turning stuff in, and I had to accept some late homework. Then fast forward to this year, school has been kind of crazy this year, so I never felt like I could instill that homework policy. So I've kind of been just accepting some late homework, taking points off. But starting this try, I'm hoping we can all be in session every day together. This is what I'm going to adapt, and I'm going to stick to it no matter what. If we go distance, if we go hybrid, whatever, this is my policy. So just like if you've had me before this spring or this year, every assignment that I assign is going to be due the next day at midnight, okay? If it's on a Friday, it's going to be due Sunday at midnight, okay, which is 2 days later at midnight. Then, when I grade homework, just a reminder, I look for, first of all, did you do the correct assignment? Did you write down random answers, which actually in some of my classes I have to check for? Did you show your work? And that's where most kids miss assignments. Or some kids will do, like say the assignment is 13 to 39, they'll do 13 to 20 and think, oh, she won't notice, and now I'm going to start at 29. So those are the things I'm checking when I'm doing it. So make sure you show your work, do the right assignment, don't write it in random answers, and you get a 10, okay? If your homework is late from this point on, so that picture assignment I just showed you is due tomorrow at midnight. If it's not there and you give it to me the day after, the best you can do is a 5, okay? After we take the test on the chapter that this assignment is in, which would be somewhere next week, later next week, we'll have a quiz on chapter 4 on what we're learning this week and next week. Once you take that quiz, that is the last time you can submit anything from chapter 4. So we're doing a chapter 4 quiz on this last half of the assignment. We're not doing a chapter 4 test because some of you haven't seen that for 5 months or 4 months or whatever it's been. So, everybody understand that? Okay, no questions on that? If you submitted it at 12:03, probably not going to take half points off. But if you submitted it at 3 in the morning, that's a different story. Okay? Mask policy. There's a bunch of us teachers, I shouldn't say a bunch, there's some of us teachers that have been really, really struggling with masks. And kids lack of wearing them on their nose. Drives me crazy. Like when I'm walking down the hall, and I don't even know what percentage it is, 1 out of 5 kids have their mask down to here, it drives me insane. So that's my focus for this trimester. So I talked with the admin, and here's what we came up with. And a couple teachers are doing this. So when you walk in my room, if your mask is down to here, I'm just going to say, go to the office. Okay, your first time, that's what it's going to be. Go to the office. I already did it today. The second time that I have to talk to you, you would get a detention. I'd call home. I'd let Mr. Ross know. If there was a third time, for sure those things would happen. But if it's getting to the point where you just aren't listening, you're not respecting my rules, there's going to be a point that I say to Mr. S that something else has to be done here. And then we would discuss what that something else is. If it were me, if I was principal, your butt would be going home. Because I'm just done with it. I'm done with the same kids every day coming in with that. And here's what's happening, just so you guys are aware of this. Let's say Macy got COVID. Let's say she goes home tonight, she gets sick, and she has COVID. She contacts the school the next day and says, I tested positive for COVID. We have a COVID guy who goes to every classroom, looks at seating charts, and in our classroom, just so you know, Andrew, Sam, Caleb, and Gavin would be quarantined for, and I don't know if it's 10 days or 2 weeks, I'm not sure. It's something from the day of exposure. So if she exposed them today, I don't know if it's 10 or 14 days, I'm not positive. Anyway, that's bad enough. Because if you learn better in school, and you, of course it's not Macy's fault, but if you all of a sudden get quarantined and you really are just in school, that's bad enough. Here's where my job. Let's say Macy's like, I don't care about masks. I'm not wearing my mask today. And she's like this all hour, and I don't say anything. Now that's on me. If now Andrew comes down with COVID symptoms 2 days later, and he gets really sick, or his dad or mom gets sick, or grandma and grandpa, that's on me. So that's why I take masks serious. You can't just think about, I don't believe in masks, they don't work, because that's your personal opinion. You gotta think about who's sitting around you and how sick. I have a very high risk husband at home. Okay? For me, I would hope you do that just for him. Okay? So just be respectful. Think about other people. I know it's not fun. Try talking all day with the mask. It's not fun, but it's something we have to do. Okay? So again, over your nose and my mouth tightly, no more warnings. If I see it, I'm just going to say go to Mr. Ostad. Once, the first time, no detention. Second time and every time thereafter, at least one detention. The second time for sure, one detention. The third time, we're going to have to revisit with Mr. Ostad and decide what to do. Okay? So that's something different. And then let's talk about this too. Are you allowed to eat in this class? And you shouldn't have to. You have lunch. If you need to take a drink of water, you can obviously put your mask down momentarily and take a drink of water, okay? But I don't think you should have to be in here with lunch coming up. No hats at all. So last try we had troubles with hats. And different teachers might address this today differently, but I'm just saying with me, what you are going to do if you come in and you have a hood or a hat, I'm going to take your hat. If it's a hood and you can't give me your sweatshirt, we'll deal with that differently. But there's no reason to have hats on when it's a school room. Okay? Did I talk about if we're doing a Teams meeting and you're quarantined, you're supposed to join the meeting? Did I talk about that? So when you guys are at home and you are quarantined, okay? If you're not sick, your expectation is to join Teams meetings for any teacher who's having it. And I will have one every day unless we have a test or worksheets, which you should kind of know coming up because I always have my schedule on the board. So if I'm teaching a new lesson, there'll always be a Teams meeting, okay? To find those Teams meetings, you can go to our team, which we're called 4th Hour Advanced Algebra 2 Spring. And what will actually happen here is there will be 2 different Teams meetings. There will be one before lunch and one after lunch that you would join on home, okay? The other way you can see them is if you go to the calendar you'll see two different meetings here, one before lunch, one after lunch. Okay? And then, okay. I showed you where the blank notes, completed notes, videos are. You're going to need a graphing calculator in this class. If you don't have one, I would strongly suggest you get one. What we're doing, the last part, is going to be a ton of graphing. We're doing logarithms, you need a graphing calculator. We're going to be doing trig functions. So it's something you need one. If you don't have one, you can rent them from the office, and you would check with D in the office for that. But it's something you need a graphing calculator. Okay? And then, for those of you who are new to the class, I'm assuming you all had Mr. Sect+4 that are new, correct? Did he put the quadratic formula on your calculators? Okay, then I'll do that for you one day. Remind me though. I really should do it someday this week if we can. If we have time, like 10 minutes at the end of the hour, 15 minutes, remind me. And it's really easy to get them on your calculator. Okay? All right, so that is it for that. I am going to show you a video of how to submit, but to do that, I have to be off video. And I'm recording this right now, so I'm gonna do that later. I tried to do that first hour and the volume got all screwed up, so I'll do that towards the end. When you go into Schoology, if you go to your course dashboard, you can see anything that's overdue as well as anything that's upcoming. I typically don't put in assignments that early, so chances are you won't get stuff in there that is upcoming very much. Normally, I'm putting the assignment in as you guys are working on it. Okay? All right, so that's all of that. Remind me at the end today to show you your the video that Mrs. Mary Swanson did, so I can show you that. And we are going to get started. So I handed out a factoring chart, and it has on the back, it has some perfect squares and perfect cubes. So that's something you're going to want to have on your desk. And I was telling you guys, this section is not easy. I'm not going to act like it is. It's tough. If factoring, and all of you had different algebra teachers, different amounts of factoring that you have done. We did do some factoring in the first try. Some of you maybe breezed through that and it was so easy for you. Some of you maybe really struggled. So depending on where you fall into that is something that you're going to have to know for this. We're going to spend today and tomorrow on this lesson just because there is so much in it. This you're going to have to know not only what we talked about in the fall or winter when you had it first try, but we're going to add new types of factoring to it. Okay? So those of you that had me in the actually fall or winter, you've seen this before. The only thing I changed on this, just so you guys know, is I changed this to 4 or more. We used to have just 4 here. I also took out a chunk here that we didn't use much. And we did factor by grouping in the fall and in the winter. And when we did factor by grouping, there was always 4 terms. A lot of times today, there's 6 terms. And like I said, and then the hard part about this lesson too is, you might start off doing factor by grouping, and you think, okay, I got that. But the problem is, both of your things you just got needs to be factored again. So it's got a lot in this section. So anytime you have 2 terms, okay? The first thing you always do is try to take out a common factor. So if it's like 2x squared plus 10x, first thing I would do is what could I take out of that? 2x. And then I would get 2x times, you would ask yourself, 2x times what gives you that? That's x. 2x times what gives you that? And that's 5. Okay? Once you got that, and not all things have a common factor, so if it doesn't, that's fine. Then what you do is you do difference of squares. Now, we'll be talking about difference of squares and sum of squares on the next page. So you'll see what that is. And then these two things are new. Sum of cubes and difference of cubes we'll also talk about today or tomorrow. That you have not done before, to my knowledge. We didn't do it in this class. If you have 3 terms, that is when we use these rules to be able to tell what signs to have. And we looked at, you know, like say our problem was x squared plus 2x minus 8, something like that, okay? If this is a plus and this is a minus, that told us to use this here, and that one of our charges is plus and one of our charges is minus. If this is x squared, it would be x and x, and you would want to find 2 factors of a -8, so that when you add them together, they give you a +2. Does anyone know what that would be? +4 and -2. This is where the kids that just had me in the winter are at a little advantage for this section, because that's more fresh in their mind. Those of you that had me in the fall or had Mr. Seifert in the fall, that it'll come back to you though. Okay, so this would be a factor. That's what you do when you have 3 things. Then, like I said, with 4 things, we do factor by grouping, and it's going to be common today to have 6 things. There's even a couple of questions that have 8 things, but I didn't do those. I didn't make you tackle those at this time. So we're going to start off just reviewing what we did in the fall or winter. These first 3 pages is just a review. Okay? Whenever you're doing sum or difference of squares, there are 3 things that have to be true. So let's say we had the question 4x squared minus 9y squared, and they asked us to factor that. Whenever there's 2 things, the first thing I think of is it sum of squares or difference of squares? These 3 things have to be true. First of all, your variables have to be even powers. They have to be to the 2nd, to the 4th, to the 6th, to the 8th. And in this chapter, we'll have all of that, okay? These are both to even powers. Second thing is your numbers have to be perfect squares. And on the back of the factoring table I gave you guys, this is on the back, as well as the table of perfect cubes. Those you can use on your test next week, that sheet, okay? Then, that is true in this one. 4 is a perfect square because 2 squared is 4. 9 is a perfect square because 3 squared is 9. The other thing is your sign in the middle is going to then determine, is it difference of squares or sum of squares? This is minus, so it's going to be difference of squares. With difference of squares, you put your 2 parentheses, and then I'm not sure if you remember this or not, but with difference of squares, 1 is plus, 1 is minus. Now, if this is x squared, we would do x and x. Do you guys know what to do if this is a 4? What do I put here and here? A 2 and a 2. Very good. Now, I haven't always put a variable here, but just to show you what to do if the variable is here. If you have y squared here, that means since it's the 2nd term, the y's go there and there. and then you take the square root of 9 to go here and here. Square root of 9 is 3 and 3. Now, here's what you guys are going to hate about this chapter. This one is done. But if you have something where this is x to the 8th, or x to the 6th, or x to the 4th, more times than not, you're not done here. And then you'll have to do another type of factoring, and maybe even a third type of factoring. And you'll see that as we go through. So difference of squares, what you do there, like I said, is a plus and a minus. If there's a variable that's squared, you'd put 1 here and 1 here. If there was a variable squared here, like you just saw, we put it here and here. And then for numbers, you take the square root of this number and put it here and here. Square root of this number and put it here and here. Okay? For sum of squares, especially those of you that haven't seen this in a while, sum of squares is a touch different. Let's say that I gave you 16x squared plus 25. Okay? Here's the rules again to tell if this is difference or sum of squares. Your variables have to be even powers, and 2 is an even power. Your numbers have to be perfect squares. 16 and 25 are both perfect squares. If it's difference of squares, you would have a minus sign. If it's sum of squares, you have a plus sign. So this is sum of squares. Okay? Here's how you do sum of squares. Again, you have a plus and a minus. Okay? For the x squared in the first term, you'd put an x here, x here. If this is 16, what would I put here and here? 4 and 4. If this is 25, what do I put here and here? 5. Now this is where sum of squares is different. Does anyone know what has to go with these? I's. And that means it's an imaginary solution. Okay? So you have to remember that when it's sum of squares, the second part of each parenthesis has an I. So again, still reviewing, if you guys were asked to do this first problem, what can I factor out? A 4. Then you would ask yourself, 4 times what gives you 4x squared? X squared. Minus 4 times what gives us 64? 16. Okay? I have 2 things, and we don't know how to do sum or difference of cubes yet, so this is just difference of squares. How I can tell that? My power is even. I have a minus sign, and 16 is a perfect square. So I have difference of squares. Do you guys remember what signs to put? Plus and minus. If this is x squared, what do I put here and here? And what is, if it's 16, what do I put for my numbers? 4 and 4. Now, you're going to have to get in the habit of looking at these and making sure you can factor more. Do you guys get if this was an x squared, could I factor that more? If this was an x squared, could I factor that more? Yes. That's what's going to be happening in this section. This one we can't. But what's going to happen is they're going to have like x to the 4th and x to the 6th and x to the 8th, and then many times you can take those down several times. All right, let's check if this is sum of squares or difference of squares. It has a plus, so we would think it's sum. The x is squared, so that's what we wanted. We want it to an even power. Is 9 a perfect square? Is 25? So we have sum of squares. So we're going to do our 2 parentheses. With sum of squares, we do plus and minus. If it's x squared, what do I put here and here? X. Now, 9. What would I put for those 2 numbers? 3 and 3, because that's the square root of 9. And 25, what would I do? 5 and 5. Very good. Now this doesn't have it, whenever you get it down to where it's just an x, you're done. Okay? If it's not x squared, if it's not x to the third, you don't have to worry about going more.
Isn't it when you hit the I?
Oh, thank you. Yes, yes. Because this is plus, you have to have an I with those two. Thank you. That's how sum of squares and difference of squares is different. Okay? All right, let's go to this one. Does this look like sum of squares or difference of squares? Difference of squares, okay. This is 2 to the power of 2 as well as this. This has a 1, which is a perfect square. 81 is a perfect square. What would my signs be? Very good. That's x squared. What do I put? X and x. With that y squared, I'm going to put a y here and a y here. And then if it's 81, 9 and 9. Now again, when your highest power of variable is 1, you're done. Okay? So that's good. Now let's look here. Okay, actually let's go to lunch. And then when you come back at 20 after, then we can continue. Okay?